And welcome into our 7th edition of Nick at Night. I am Nicole Allshouse, joined by an entire team here supporting Mr. Nick Derzis. We are at Farley's Southern Kitchen right here in Hoover. If you've not been, it's a fabulous place to come dine. Let me go ahead and introduce our panel. You guys obviously know Mr. Nick Derzis to my right. To our left, you recognize these faces. Mr. Tony Petelos, who served as mayor right here in Hoover for multiple years. And next to him, the legend himself, Mr. Allen Pate, who was involved in heavy construction and so much with Hoover. All of you love Hoover. That is the common denominator with our conversation today. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you're here. Let's start with Tony, because sir, you have got quite the resume beyond obviously serving Hoover. You were the 8th mayor of Hoover, and you served from 2004 till 2011. You are married to a lovely lawyer and judge, circuit court judge, and you've got 2 grown daughters as well. You've been busy in your own right. Tell us and keep us up to date with what you've been up to.
Well, I was in the legislature for 3 terms, and then I went to work under Fob James I was commissioner of DHR. And then when Siegelman was elected, I was a commissioner over DHR during Siegelman's administration. And then David Carrington contacted me. He was commissioner for Jefferson County and said, we need some help. They did a nationwide search for a county manager. 3 people came and interviewed. They all went back home. They said, no way. So I was the 81st choice for the county manager. And I made the decision to go to work with Jefferson County. I stayed there 10 years as the first county manager.
Wow, so you've been extremely busy, but you were very busy when you were Hoover's mayor, and I lived in Hoover at the time when you were mayor, and I remember, just like it was yesterday, Hoover's happening. Yes. I think most of you remember that as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was, we needed a slogan, and there was a slogan we came up with, and it was Hoover's happening, and it stuck. It really stuck. And the beauty of it, we didn't pay some firm $25,000. We just came up with it, and it worked.
And it worked. And you worked hard for the city of Hoover. Sir, you worked, and we're going to ask you so many more questions, so you're not off the hook yet.
Okay.
Sir, you worked with Tony for years. 29 years, by the way, you were in your role as your service to the city of Hoover and the residents' executive director, 1987 to 2016, correct?
Correct.
Does it seem like it was yesterday?
It does. That seems like I left yesterday, and it's been 7 years.
I understand. Now, let's refresh everybody's memory. You were very involved in really growth in the construction side, correct?
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Well, when I was hired, Frank Skinner was mayor. He hired me to oversee the construction of the Hoover Met. Be here 1 year and be gone. So we got the Met completed. 29 years later, I left. But Hoover was getting ready to build some fire stations, athletic facilities, etc. So I stayed on and oversaw that. And then my position just grew over the years. So ultimately I guess, all department heads with the exception of police and fire was answering to me. And of course I answered to Mayor Petelos and the other mayors who were there during that time.
And obviously you guys all know each other from your role in law enforcement. You appointed him, right?
Yes, 20 years ago. It was 2005 when I appointed him as police chief.
Yes.
And it was an easy decision for him. The police department, it just didn't seem right. And we appointed Nick, and I've known him all my life, adult life. And so I knew what we were getting, and he did an exceptionally great job. We had the take-home policy for the police cars. That way you have more cars, more police officers off duty, but you have the cars in the district. They didn't even have a command bus, and Nick brought that, so we had the command bus. And so he was the right choice, and I can say that he's a great leader, he listens, and he understands.
Well, I was going to ask you, Nick, do you remember that meeting or that phone call when he first said you're the man for the job for the city of Hoover?
Yes, absolutely. It was a great day, and something that I had aspired to in my career. I can remember that day, and I can remember the day that Allen Pate called me and said, "Hey, I need you to come to my house. And I went to his house, and I walked in, and the mayor's there, and the mayor sat down and told me, he'd already told Pate, that he was taking the county manager's job, and he was leaving. And I said, man, are you crazy? What are you doing leaving? And but I remember those 2 days, the day that he called me to tell me I was the police chief, and the day that he told me he was leaving to take another job.
Yeah, those are pretty memorable.
They were
days,
memorable,
would
I
say.
promise you.
And here we are now, fast forward, where Nick obviously is running for Hoover mayor. So it's really come full circle. I want to talk to you, Tony, and we're going to kind of all bounce back
Sure.
if you all don't mind, because we've got a lot of ground to cover in episode 7. But you saw the leader, Nick, you said as police chief. Why do you think that he is a good role for Hoover? Because you lived that role. In fact, you were mayor during a hard time. I mean, it was the recession. There was a lot going on that you struggled with because of the world we lived in at the time.
Right. Well, I think the 08, when the financial crisis, and what goes first is retail sales tax. And Hoover depends on that. And we had some tough decisions to make, but we never laid anybody off. We managed by attrition. We held people accountable, and they needed to do their job. And if they didn't do their job, we made other arrangements for them. And so, and Nick, I think he proved himself to the nth degree last year when we had that crisis with the lady that said she was abducted on the interstate. And he was on national news, and over and over again, he just did an outstanding job under a very, very difficult situation in handling that situation. And that's the character of Nick Derzis.
And transparency, I know, was always important to you.
Yes.
Is that something that you find value in Nick's leadership style, transparency and being an open book?
When I became mayor, the PIO officer, Lori Salter, was working for me. And after the first month, she said, Mayor, you've done more interviews with the media than the previous mayor did in 4 years. And that was the same thing with Nick. We worked together, the three of us. We worked together on a lot of projects to make a lot of things happen in the city of Hoover. And so that was, I was transparent. This man was transparent. And this man here, I was the big picture guy. This was the behind the scenes guy who made it happen.
That's right. Just as important, the behind the scenes guy, right? Tell me a little bit, sir. The National Computer Forensics Institute is located in Hoover. I don't know if anybody at home already knew that, but the Secret Service training facility for national and international law enforcement agencies. How was Hoover selected for that location?
That's an interesting question. I get a phone call from Congressman Spencer Backus. He says, Tony, do you have a building that's vacant? I said, yeah, we got a big building that's vacant, the one on Valleyville. And he said, well, you need to make this call. So I made the call. I got with Nick, I got with Allen, and we were able to get the state of Alabama, Bob Riley, Shelby County, because it's in Shelby County, the city of Hoover, and the state DA's association involved, and we made it happen. And I remember when the Homeland Security Director came for the ribbon cutting, he said, I had a lot of congressmen, and I had a lot of U.S. senators asking me, why are you going to that town in Alabama? He said, because they made it happen. And that's exactly what happened. We worked as a team. We communicated constantly to get things done in the city of Hoover. And communication is key, and transparency is key.
Well, and just constantly taking steps to advance the city. So you didn't really waste time. You got it done and got that here, which is a big deal. Nick has talked about that in our prior episodes about constantly growing and helping the city of Hoover. Looking now at the mayor's office as it stands, what do you see? What are your opinions looking at it from when you were there to what the office is now?
It sort of reminds me of when I ran for mayor. The city council was fighting with the mayor. There were, during that time, there were ethics complaints filed. There was very little communications between the mayor and the city council, and there was a lot of rift. And when I got there, I made the point to meet as many city council members as I could. There wasn't a week that went by I didn't meet with at least one city councilman. And now I did that. And again, it was a team effort, and we were able to make decisions. And it wasn't my decision. It was, we would decide what we needed to do and then go from there.
But do you see it's time for change in Hoover?
I think so. There's no doubt in my mind it's time for change. The entire time I was there as mayor, we never gave a developer a dime. Hoover is one of the most prosperous cities in the state of Alabama and in the Southeast. It's not a rundown city, and we don't need to give money to developers in large sums to locate here. The demographics work, everything with the school system is one of the best in the state, so all of that works very, very well. And so I was very strict about, you want to come to Hoover, come on, we'll help you, we'll manage, we'll help you get everything done, move through the system. But we did not give money away.
It's a really good point, and I don't know how many people at home have even thought about that or even really know that. Interestingly enough, we're going to come to you, sir, but you got to tell me one funny story about Nick. You got one that you could share?
Well,
We've been talking serious in business.
there's too many stories, okay? But the one thing that used to aggravate me is I go somewhere with Nick and he outdresses me, and I was the mayor, so it was, and so he forced me to go buy, other clothes so I could keep up with him.
It seems to be a consistent trend on this series. I've heard from multiple sources, named and unnamed, that he's a stellar dresser. So you get the award for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Tony, for
Sure.
taking the time. And we're going to come back to you at the end again. But it's your turn. You ready?
I'm ready.
Be on the hot seat?
I'm ready.
Remind everybody a little bit about all the development construction, because obviously Finley Center, huge deal that you were leading. Remind everybody what you did with that.
Well, the fitness center is a huge deal. There's a lot of playing fields there. And we worked on that for a period of time. Everybody thinks it just blossomed in there and did. But there was many meetings with different council members selling this project, showing it to them, and you lay out a plan. Well, you had those that liked tennis, and they were, where's your tennis courts? Well, you got to go back and put tennis courts in. So if you look, there's 16 tennis courts out there. There was one that said, okay, where's your accessible field at? Well, if you look, there's an accessible field. Another one wanted to know, where's your water feature? If you look, there's a water feature. So you work them all together, and then you get it all put together, and then you bring it to the city council, hoping that you've got a majority vote. Thinking you do, because all the time and effort you put into it. And I will say that that night there was 3 resolutions to be passed. One was to fund the project, one was to hire an architect, and the other one was to hire a construction manager. And we all got them all 3 passed that one night with 1 negative vote. And that negative vote voted negative on most everything during those years. So it was an effort. It all got passed, it all got underway. And shortly after it got underway was when I retired. For the most part, it got finished as was designed.
So looking back, was the current mayor in support of the Finley project or not in support of the Finley project?
The current mayor was not in support of this project. As a matter of fact, when he was running for office, he used it to run against the current people. And I can say this, and he would know it's true, Councilman Lytle originally, the night I presented it, asked me, Allen, can we wait 2 weeks? And I said no, and he didn't know why. And I told him that we were in negotiations with the Southeastern Conference to bring the baseball team. And I had promised them that they would bring the tournament, we would build this facility. So I need your vote tonight. And he voted for it. He later called me a couple of times and said, hey, I was wrong. This was a great decision for the city, and glad you pushed it.
Well, and when you really look back, your 29 years there, from shopping complexes, neighborhoods, there's a lot really that's taken into consideration for a city. How important do you think that's going to be even for Nick as he pursues the mayor position?
Well, I think it's very important. The reason being that it's a revenue generator for the city. It brings a lot of people into our community. When I originally was thinking about it, it was a playing field for our Hoover kids, with occasionally out-of-towners coming. It has turned out to be a facility for our Hoover kids, but with a lot of out-of-towners coming and bringing money and filling our hotel rooms. And you see hotels continuing to be built in Hoover, I think, a lot because of this.
What is your opinion on the current administration and what they have done or what they are actively doing when it comes to managing city departments or managing the city?
Well, I think their budget-making process is lacking in ways. When we were budgeting, we did it very simply. We had a revenue department, finance department, they all did a good job. Once a year, I would ask the revenue department, what is your projections for revenue next year? They would tell me $80 million. I'd tell them, make it conservative. So they'd give me a number of $80 million. I would go to the department heads and ask them to submit to me their budgets. I would total their budgets. If it exceeded $80 million, I'd go back to them, have a meeting with them, say, hey, we need to do a little cut, we need to get this back with him. And they would do that. Nick was one of the most generous because he had the largest department. He would always make the necessary cuts to help get the city within the revenue budget. And then once we did that, we had the budget approved, and then we made sure during the year that expenditures stayed within that budget. And especially within the police department, they got a lot of vehicles. I can't tell you how many of here. We've got several hundred out there. And if you look around, thanks to Nick, you don't see any run-down vehicles out there. All of his equipment looks good, it's sharp, it stays clean. Same with his officers, they dress, I guess they're following their leader. They dress appropriately, and he just does a good job. And you look back, over Nick's tenure, and I told him while ago, I think he brought the first K9s to Hoover when other departments didn't have them. And I could say this, I think, without giving up too much security. Even today, Hoover gets calls to go to certain venues if there's going to be a large crowd there to search that venue, so to speak, and make sure it's safe for the people based on that. We're currently, I guess he has a supply of drones that's being used because he saw the necessity of it. I would say this, Hoover has never owned a helicopter, but Nick Derzis has never been in a position that he could get a helicopter with a phone call. So that's another sign of his great leadership. You don't have to own everything, you just need to know where to get it.
That's a good point. The relationships that he's built, the connections he's made over the years. What would you say to Hoover residents out there that may be on the fence, that just don't know, like, who should we vote for? Or what would you say to those people?
I would say if you're on the fence about who to vote for, if you're looking for a solid leader, somebody that's going to be honest with his citizens, if they ask a question, they're going to get an answer. It may not be the answer they want to hear, but it will be the right answer. It may not even be the answer Nick would like to give them, but again, it will be the right answer. I would say if you're a developer out there, he's going to treat all developers exactly the same. He's not going to prefer one developer over another. If you come to him with a project, he's going to look at it. If it makes sense for the city of Hoover, he's going to try to help you make it happen. If it doesn't, he's probably going to tell you, no, that's not something we're looking for, and we're going to move on. But again, he's going to treat everybody the same. He's going to be steady, and he's going to be solid.
Allen Pate, thank you for giving me
I want to add something to what Allen said about the budget. In 08, we had the bad financial crisis, and we lost a lot of millions of dollars every year on revenue, and it took a long time to come back. And we never raised taxes during that period of time. We went to all the departments, the heads, and we said we got to cut, and we didn't lay anybody off. We just did that by attrition. Somebody leaving, we just didn't hire. And we survived during that time. A lot of cities cannot say that, but we did in the city of Hoover during a very, from 2008 all the way to 2011.
That's a really big accomplishment. And it's great that you guys have such mutual respect for each other because you can bounce ideas off each other. I bet, Nick, you've already had conversations where, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that?
Sure. I mean, these guys, Hoover is in a position today because of what these guys have done in the past. And again, Mayor for his time in office, for Allen being there as long as he was, and some of the great attributes for the citizens of Hoover today. When you talk about the Met, the Finley Center, and the park, the ballparks. I don't think even Allen would have thought that it would be what it is today. And Mayor Petelos left and went to the county, but he certainly always cared about what took place in our city. And again, I'm just glad that both these guys are legends in their kind, and I'm just very, very happy that I consider these guys really good friends.
Very nice. And Tony, I'm going to give you the last word before we put Nick back on the hot seat for his viewer questions. What is something that you wanted to say that I didn't ask you concerning Nick about what you learned in office and now seeing him run for this position that you'd like to share?
It's be honest. Don't, I never said to the media, no comment. You got to deal with the media. You got to be honest with the media. And you got to, and you got to let the citizens know what you're doing. Nothing, no backroom deals or anything like that. And I think that is the most important thing. And I had a great team. I had good employees that I could depend on. We had great audits whenever we had audits come through, and employees that weren't great, I was able to either terminate them or suspend them, but I wasn't afraid to do that. But we held people accountable, and that's and Nick knows how to do it because he's got all these police officers out there, and he's holding them all accountable.
It's a really good point. Alan, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to mention?
I would say one thing, we were talking about the budgets, and we accumulated a sizable, excess revenue when we were leaving office. When this group took office, first thing they did was come in wanting to raise taxes. There was no need for that, but that's what they wanted to do, and they ultimately did. And I don't know what's happened to that money, but there was plenty of money there when they took office, but they wanted to raise taxes immediately.
Okay. Well, maybe we need you to dig. If you're at home watching this, maybe we should all dig and see what happened to the money. That might be another episode down the road. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sure.
Surely an honor.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
So appreciate those guys being here.
I was going to say,
Absolutely.
what a fun conversation.
It's been fun.
Well, and by the way, Farley's, if you have not been here, Southern Kitchen right here in Hoover is a beautiful and delicious place to eat your family meal.
Great steak.
We are moving on, Nick. Now you guys get to listen as he gets to answer your questions. Is that fine with you?
That's great too.
Nick, this first question comes from Gino. Now, Gino lives in Hoover, but did not tell us what neighborhood. The question is, quote, so what I would really like to know, should we really believe that since we don't separate recycling at home anymore, that the garbage company actually separates it on their end?
Good question.
I've questioned that myself, and I honestly don't know. I know that when we put the garbage out the second time during the week, that we put everything in one container, and it is supposedly sent somewhere, and the recycling is done. I don't have a clue. But I can tell you, when I'm elected, we're going to do a Nick Nite. We're going to go and see where it goes. We're going to sit and watch, and we'll do a Nick Nite to kind of determine what it does. And I'll say that there are a lot of people in our city that are certainly environmentally conscious, and we could probably do a better job of the recycling effort. I think some people probably just don't really care because they don't see you used to have the two different bins to do the recycling stuff, and now put everything in one and it's supposed to happen. I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. Honestly, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but we hope that it is. But again, we can do a better job. Again, got to keep the environment more friendly than what we're doing right now.
Well, and at the end of the day, if you've got a mayor that dresses this tidy, he's certainly not going to not have a tidy city, right?
No,
tidy and clean.
Tidy and clean. It's good. And safe.
And safe. Good point. Okay, our next question comes from Kim Russet Woods. Mayor Petelos has raised Hoover sales tax, rental tax, and the city's lodging tax. He added a bed fee, which yet another tax, and was recently stated in the Hoover Sun that he supports raising our property taxes. What is your position on raising taxes, end quote?
Well, I said that Mayor Petelos has not had a problem raising our taxes. I'm against raising taxes, and I think you've got to grow into prosperity. It could be because of some failed policies, financial policies that the city has. I don't think when you start talking about raising taxes that you can really get the public sector really excited to come to your city and start spending money and developing. I think it's something that people actually leave communities because of raising taxes. I mean, if you look at a couple of states like probably New York and California, because of the burden that people put under, that they're moving out of those states and coming to others. To me, which was a little funny situation, and not funny, but maybe more embarrassing. The mayor on the grocery tax, we went ahead and reduced the tax for 0.5% on the grocery tax, and then all of a sudden it happens, it gets passed, and they make this big announcement. And then right after the fact, they find out that they didn't know everything correctly or did everything correctly and had to rescind that. And I can tell you when you start talking about people's money and taxes, when you tell somebody something, you ought to stick to your guns and make sure that happens like that. When we talk about property taxes, that's something property taxes go to the schools. They're the ones that make those decisions, and I would not comment to the schools and tell them my thoughts and what I think they ought to do, just like I don't expect them to tell me what we ought to do with our city money.
Favorite music?
Favorite music, rock and roll.
Like heavy metal, AC/DC, Motley Crue. What
Allman Brothers.
Brothers.
is that? What about you? You like Allman Brothers too?
I'm old-fashioned, real big time, so.
Okay. What about you?
Old time rock and roll.
Okay, I see it. We need to get some music on in here.
There you go.
Favorite artist? Do you have any like favorite individual artist? Not really a band, but an individual artist.
Individual artists. Wow, that's tough. There's so many great.
Talented.
Yeah, there are. That is really tough. Always liked Van Morrison.
Yeah, I like Van Morrison. What about you guys? Favorite artist?
Believe it or not, Taylor Swift.
I did not see that coming. Okay, Tony and Taylor Swift.
How about
too.
that?
There you
What
go.
about you?
Randy Owens.
There you go. A little country music. Nothing wrong. I like country too. Nothing wrong with country.
Okay, what about, since we are at a Southern restaurant here in Hoover, favorite Southern food?
Southern food. Woo. I'm trying to think exactly what you mean by Southern food.
Like collard greens, maybe okra, maybe dumplings, cornbread.
Cornbread, dumplings. Not into really some of the collard greens, but Brussels sprouts, fried Brussels sprouts. I love those, and mac and cheese is. I'm getting hungry now, but yeah, those. Yeah, I'm thinking about that, but those are the type of things that I like.
What about you guys?
I'm old-fashioned. I'm from Greek descent, so pasticcio is my favorite.
Okay.
And it's
Is that a Southern Greece?
that's Southern Greece. That's Southern Greece, right?
Close enough to Southern Alabama.
Yeah.
Meatloaf, mac and cheese, and fried okra.
Oh, meatloaf. I'm from up north. I like meatloaf myself. This has been so fun. I wish we had more time. We know you guys are busy at home. We appreciate you watching our 7th edition of Nick at Night. We want to remind everybody the election is just around the corner, August 26th. So make sure to mark your calendar, get out there and vote. And of course, you can find more on Nick, his platform, his everything, because he's fully transparent at derzisformayor.com. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, the call time.